You're listening to Come Curious.
The one about kinky history.
Hello, Reed.
Hello, Em. How are you today?
I am good. I'm very excited for our guest. How are you?
Yes, I'm also excited for our guest. It's also really late. I don't think we've recorded an episode quite this late before because our wonderful guest is all the way in Australia. So trying to find the time to make it work is, we've made it work. We're making it work. Yes.
Anything for the curious fuckers because she's that good, and I'm really excited to hear what she has to say. She's incredible.
Let's bring on the guest. I'm really excited about this one.
Yay.
Hello and welcome, the incredible Esme, to our podcast. Hello.
Hello, how are we?
Can you tell our curious fuckers a little bit about you and yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name's Esme, best known for creating Kinky History Online, which is a series that looks at the history of human identity, gender, and sexuality. That's also the area that I study at university and more widely, which has now become a book, a podcast, and all of the fun stuff, really.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah, that's me.
Beautiful. We're going to get into a little icebreaker with a game of Would You Rather. Would you rather have sex during the medieval times or ancient Greek?
Oh God, ancient Greece. Ancient Greece. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Beautiful.
I wouldn't even know where to start there, but I feel like medieval times is probably like really dirty.
And yeah, that feels not okay. But
I mean, like, it's like dirty in the wrong way.
Yeah, in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like you haven't had a shower for like ever. And like they flush it out the windows. Is that the same era?
Absolutely. I feel like ancient Greece was probably worse for hygiene, but in our minds, we're just like, yeah, they were all just sexy and orgy.
It's very
sexualized.
Yeah, it's like it was all about pleasure and eating and like, orgies and sex and shit, right?
And we all look really pretty and we're having a great time. Like that's
Yes.
And I will buy into that. It's definitely warm all the time.
Yes, yeah. Greece sounds like such a nicer place to fuck rather than like the dingy medieval times we think of. Like I'm thinking of like
cold,
the worst like Game of Thrones or some shit like that. Like it
they
just
also
seems
have
dirty.
Like really wild theories that come out of medieval times about so many things. Like one that I was quoting the other day was there is this 11th century the Merchant of Worms, who is basically like, women, if you can't get your husbands into bed, get a fish, shove it inside your vagina live, kill the fish, let it steep in your juices, and then serve it to your husband. And that will entice him into bed because he'll like have ingested your juices, and then he'll be like, gotta have sex with this woman. And so this was in the writings of the Merchant of Worms, and it and I just think about like stuff like that, like the era of fact check was not there, but they had the era of writing down, so people were just publishing shit like this.
Fucking hell.
Which I think is really fun. I mean, also, I imagine this guy just had like some erotic dreams that he was just like, do you know what? I'm just gonna publish it.
Yes.
Or he was just
find out.
That sounds like it'll work. We'll make it work. I bet you these poor women are getting some fucking nasty STIs from that live fish roaming around in that vag. Whoa.
Oh my God. Actually,
a lot of the shit that was happening in medieval times, I can only imagine was just like STI very heavy. Like early contraceptive was not good. In medieval times, we also have a record of how women would basically a guy that they would pass around to fake their virginity to save them from various unpleasant situations where you were found to not bleed in bed. As we know, most people don't bleed after the first time they consummate. So basically someone called Trotula, who was a female physician, started to publish this guide, and it would include things like putting a leech on your labia so it would form a scab, and when you had sex that scab would break so you would bleed, or having like goat's blood in a notch behind your bed so when your husband was asleep you could just like dash it on the bed sheets and be like, look, I bled. And I just see so many things like this from medieval times. I'm like, it must have been so If you are someone who gets a UTI and a UTI baddie, this was not the time for you.
Florence would not survive.
No, I don't. No one would. If you didn't
No.
have UTIs, you're getting them. Like, that is happening.
Go a leech on your labia. I'm not
Yes.
for it, hey. I'm not. I'd
And
rather
just-
take the fall for not being a virgin.
Right? And it feels very unpleasant because you're also like it's preparation. That's what the girlies are doing. They're doing preparation. They've got the leech, they're just waiting for the scab to form, and then they're like, when we have sex, I'll just get the scab off. So also timing is, but I kind of love that there was this era of before, because we don't have a lot of women's recorded history, and so you get off little sprinkles of
Yeah.
stuff like this, which would have been women, you know, supporting and protecting women at a time when we don't record their stories, and we know enough that she wrote this guide, it was passed around, and it became like folklore, and so everyone was helping one another.
I love that.
So yeah, and even
That's
in
nice.
her original writings, it's very like, she will be like, if you have opened your legs to a man prior to now, probably read this. Like, it's kind of, you know, she's prefaced it by, it's not assuming women are virginal and all of this, because when we go back through history, we have this very false expectation that women
Yeah.
always were virginal until marriage, which is not the case. We just had incredible people like Trotula who were being like, here's how we live our lives and do it safely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
I'm still going ancient Greek, but
Yeah, I'm still
on
going ancient
to-
Greece.